Welcome to the Dharma Project, a space to explore Sanātana Dharma thoughtfully through psychology, philosophy, art, stories, and lived practice. This channel is about understanding our tradition deeply, not just emotionally, but intellectually, and asking how it can help us live better today. If you grew up hearing these words but never fully understood what they meant, you're not alone. And if you're new to this tradition, you're welcome here too. Each month, we explore Sanātana Dharma through a different lens. And in this week's series, Examining Sanātana Dharma, we look at difficult questions, misconceptions, doubts, modern criticisms, not to argue, but to understand deeply. And today's question is simple, but unpacks a lot. Is Sanātana Dharma just a religion? When people ask what religion I belong to, the expected answer is Hindu. And in everyday conversation, that is often the word we use. But the tradition itself historically refers to this way of life as Sanātana Dharma. As we know, Sanātana meaning eternal, and Dharma meaning that which upholds or sustains. So even at the level of language, we're already dealing with something that does not translate or neatly fit into the modern word religion. Religion, as it is typically understood in the modern Western sense, often implies a particular fixed structure. It usually involves a defined creed, a set of beliefs that followers must accept, a historical founder, a single central scripture, and often a clear process of conversion or formal membership. There are also fixed practices and daily or weekly structured forms of practicing the religion. An individual can be labeled as good or bad, pending the extent to which they follow these beliefs. But Sanātana Dharma developed very differently. It did not begin with one individual. It did not emerge from a single moment in history. And it was not organized around one fixed doctrine. Instead, it evolved over thousands of years through philosophical inquiry, cultural practice, and lived experience. And that makes it much harder to fit into the modern category of religion. Because there is no single uniform way that all followers must practice. The Vedas, the Upanishads, and the Bhagavad Gita are among the foundational philosophical texts. They explore questions about reality, consciousness, ethics, and the nature of the self. But these texts exist within something much larger, a vast ecosystem of philosophy, rituals, storytelling, and lived tradition. Epics like the Mahabharata and the Ramayana, numerous philosophical schools, regional practices, and devotional traditions. So instead of functioning like a rigid rulebook, it functions more like a civilizational framework, a framework that has guided how people think about life, responsibility, ethics, and spiritual inquiry for millennia. And that flexibility is precisely what has allowed the tradition to evolve across times, cultures, and generations. Sanātana Dharma is not just belief. It is ontology, a way of understanding reality. It asks fundamental questions about existence. What is the nature of the self? What is the nature of the universe? And how are the two connected? It is psychology, a way of understanding the mind. It explores why humans experience attachment, confusion, fear, and desire, and how clarity and freedom might be cultivated. It is ethics, a way of approaching action. It asks, what is the right thing to do in complex situations? And how can we act responsibly in the world? And it is practice, a way of living daily life through reflection, through discipline, through ritual. That is why it contains many different paths. You can be devotional, you can be philosophical, you can be ritual-centered, you can even be questioning, and still be within the framework. Because the goal is not uniformity, nor has it ever been the goal. The goal is always understanding and alignment. Many young people today feel alienated from the idea of religion. They often associate it with dogma, with rigid rules, with blind belief, with the suppressing of questions. So when they hear about spiritual traditions, they assume that questioning is not welcome. But Sanātana Dharma has always made space for inquiry, not as rebellion, but as a path to understanding. When we reduce Sanātana Dharma to just another religion, we shrink it. We compress something vast into a category that was never designed to hold it. Because Sanātana Dharma is not simply a system of belief. It's a civilizational knowledge tradition. It contains philosophy, metaphysics, ethics, psychology, ritual systems, aesthetic traditions, and ways of organizing society. When we call it simply a religion, in the modern Western sense, we lose sight of that intellectual depth, and we begin to assume that it is only about belief, or ritual, or identity. But the tradition itself was never structured that way. For thousands of years, thinkers within Sanātana Dharma debated fundamental questions. Schools like Advaita, Dvaita, Sankhya, Yoga, Nyaya, and Mimamsa developed highly sophisticated philosophical systems. They disagreed with each other, they challenged each other, and yet they existed within the same broad framework. That level of intellectual pluralism is not accidental. It reflects how the tradition understands truth as something to be explored, refined, and realized. When the tradition is reduced to a label, several things disappear: the philosophical depth, the diversity of viewpoints, the openness to inquiry, and the idea that spiritual understanding is a process of exploration, not just acceptance. And when those dimensions are forgotten, the tradition starts to look smaller than it actually is. This is not about claiming superiority. It is about describing the tradition accurately. If we misunderstand the framework, then we cannot truly engage with it. And if we cannot engage with it, we risk inheriting it only superficially. To engage honestly with Sanātana Dharma, we must understand the structure of the tradition, not just the label. Because when we see the structure clearly, we rediscover its intellectual depth and its extraordinary openness. So maybe the question isn't, is this a religion? Maybe the better question is, what kind of framework is this offering me? Is it helping me think clearly, act responsibly, understand myself better? Sanātana Dharma is not threatened by examination. It invites and welcomes it. Next month, in examining Sanātana Dharma, we'll look at another modern tension. How do we merge ancient tradition with modern values? Until next time, stay curious and stay reflective.